After a few weeks off the Boroughs, finally returns Kevin Bunk and Mike Merlo. Mike finally back from a luxurious cruise to the Bahamas. Where else did you go here? Where did this cruise take you?
Just Bermuda here. Next
Bermuda.
cruise is a lot.
What's next cruise?
Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao.
Wow, that's fancy. When's that?
Well, that's in August.
Okay.
So we'll really be in the dog days of the season. The Yankees will have probably already put up the banner, and the Mets will have traded everybody in the season.
Yeah, Mets will be long gone.
Long over.
Cruise your preferred vacation method?
Well, now I think it is. The last 3 vacations I've been on are cruises. So I think now I'm starting to get a little spoiled. I'm about to go on another vacation in like 2 months. That's not a cruise, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever go on a cruise in my life. I think that's the one type of vacation. I don't like the idea of not being on land.
It's great. I hate being on land now, and I like being on water.
I know that they have doctors and medical staff on cruise ships. What if something goes wrong?
I mean, they have things like that, and then you port and you go to the hospital. You get airlift to a hospital. I don't know. There's jails on the cruises as well.
Yeah, I mean the cruise. It's crazy how massive they are and how many resources and amenities they have on a cruise.
Yeah,
it's like a utopia.
It's great. You got to try one. You got to try. Just do the one to Bermuda. It's easy. Right out of New York, you go straight to Bermuda and back. That's it. 7 days. It's not rocky seas. It's nothing.
Yeah, but there's got to be a night or two on there where it's shaking a little bit, right?
Well, there actually was one day where it was really shaking for like a couple hours. I was like, damn, that's annoying.
I'd really struggle with that. I would struggle with the shaky night. I don't like that boat's rocking. I can't get off the boat anytime soon feeling.
I had one night. Listen, I sleep on I forget what size, but I think it's a queen bed. Decent size, but big guy. I'm on a twin, okay? And I'm on my shoulder, and it was rocky at one night, and I kind of like rocked forward a little bit and almost fell off the bed.
So when you stop on a cruise at a location, you stop at one of the ports.
Yeah.
How long does it stay there?
Depends. It depends on how, this got here Wednesday. It got to Bermuda Wednesday, and then it was there for 3 days, left Friday afternoon.
Okay, so you're not necessarily, if you're on one of those where there's like 5 stops, like you're going on an August, there's multiple stops.
Yeah.
How do you really end up, is the cruise the vacation or are the destinations or both?
The cruise is mostly the vacation. It's 25% of probably where you're stopping because you get to explore it a little bit. You have time to explore it.
All right. Well, that's all I got for cruises. Glad you're back.
Cruises are great, dude. You got to try it.
All right. We're glad you're back from the cruise. I'm not going to try it. Yankees are the best team in the league. They're absolutely rolling. Mets suck. We'll start with the Yankees. We'll go to the Mets later. What were you able to pick up from your week away? The Yankees dominated in San Diego. They took 2 out of 3, but Friday night was probably their most exciting win of the season with the Soto Judge Stanton inning against the Padres, who are in those horrid uniforms, the terrible City Connects that look gross.
Terrible.
And Yu Darvish was on the hill. Padres pitching staff is actually having a pretty nice year. The guys that the Yankees faced, at least, with Darvish, Cease, Musgrove. Musgrove was the only one that was able to pick up a win, though. What were you able to get from this week?
Yeah, that the Yankees are dominant, and that even though they're punched in the mouth early in the week by Seattle, they're able to come right back, steal a couple there, and then go to San Diego, which, going cross country, you're winning a lot of games right now, and they're able to go there and take 2 out of 3 and look very dominant in those games. Obviously, you have that game where Judge and Soto go back to back. Stanton hits the homer. Kevin, the one thing, they're exciting. They're a fun team to watch. And as I'm sitting there at one of the bars on the cruise ship, watching the Mets blow a 5-run lead or whatever it was, and then I start to get updates that same night that Judge and Soto go back to back. I'm like, they're so much fun and they're so exciting. And they truly are the best team in baseball. No, absolutely no doubt the best team in baseball.
The Yankees lineup today is probably the best we've seen, is I think easily the best we've seen in over 10 years. This is not the official lineup, but it's probably going to be something because you're getting LeMahieu back today. So it's going to be something along the lines of Volpe, Soto, Judge, Verdugo, Stanton, Rizzo, LeMahieu, Torres, Trevino as your bottom three. And the Yankees at every spot in the lineup, you feel confident. For the first time in a while, you feel confident in their ability to get a hit out of any spot in the order.
What do you expect from LeMahieu? Like, what are your expectations for LeMahieu coming back?
Realistic expectations and with a little bit of hope in there. I don't want to just call it an expectation. This is what I hope he does. If he can come back, hit 250, produce a little bit out of the bottom three, because now this is no longer top five in the order, LeMahieu. He's going to be in the bottom of the order, which is exciting because if he can do his what should be his floor of a 250, 260 average, 700 OPS, maybe that's wishful. I don't know with LeMahieu. I don't know if he stinks now. He could be horrible now, but that's what I'm looking for. So if he can do that out of the bottom three and work good at bats, the Yankees have a deadly bottom three with LeMahieu, Torres, Trevino. Torres, who I can't stand, but is having a nice last few weeks. We were just talking about it before we started.
Yeah.
He's finding a swing here in the end of May, and it took him long enough with everyone else going to find his swing, but he's finding it, and that's a problem for other teams.
And you know what's funny, Kevin? They look so dangerous. They look so dominant, and Rizzo has been terrible. You mentioned the Torres struggles. Obviously, he's been better of late. Last 2 weeks, he has an 840 OPS. He's been better. Cabrera obviously is going to be swapped out for LeMahieu, but Kevin, they probably use another bat. Like if we're looking at, if we're looking at an addition, right, for this team to really put them over the edge, probably use another piece or two in the bullpen. We'll get to the rotation in a minute. It's been absolutely fantastic. They don't need anything there at the moment. Could they possibly replace Rizzo at first with somebody? Like, is that an option? Is that an option?
Here's what I was thinking. A couple different scenarios, routes you can go with this one. One is, can any of the three outfielders play first base? I don't think so, but that would be the Dominguez scenario of Dominguez come to play outfield and maybe Verdugo can play first. Just can someone hold it down at first? Because let's be honest, Rizzo hasn't brought you a gold glove this year either. So you're not worried about losing him there. The area I worry about losing Rizzo is the clubhouse because he's best friends with Judge. The team loves him. And he's always been a great glue guy on their team. The difference is now he's a glue guy with an underwhelming 250 average. He's not a good 250 hitter. He's a bad 250 hitter, and he's not providing a good glove. Now, the other guy that's interesting, the interesting big name trade piece, which a lot would have to go right, but for the sake of the conversation, is Paul Goldschmidt, who's having an excellent month of May, an MVP, and I don't know what his contract looks like. I know the Yankees are going to have to pay up, and the Cardinals would also have to pay up in that deal. They'd have to pay some of his salary, and the Yankees would have to give up good prospects for him because that's a player that contenders are going to want if he's going to get moved. He's right now the biggest upgrade that I can see getting moved at the deadline because the Cardinals are in a terrible place.
Yeah, that's very interesting moving for Goldschmidt. I know he's around 24 million. I want to take a gander, 23, 24 million a year. I don't know how many years are left in that contract. That would be very interesting. But I mean, it's not like I'm not, you mentioned the clubhouse thing. I wouldn't cut Rizzo, obviously. Like I'd keep Rizzo on the roster. I'd play him here and there. I just wonder if there's an upgrade. You make a great point about Dominguez possibly coming back. I know he's rehabbing right now. And possibly moving one of those guys to first. I think eventually, if you're keeping Soto on this team, you might have to have a Judge or somebody possibly take that, make that move to first base, right? I know that's been talked about earlier in the season, but it's a fascinating decision because you have a team playing so well. They're the best team in baseball, and yet we're talking about potential upgrades to make them even better.
And just for the sake of Goldschmidt, for that conversation, he's the unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. So he's $26 million for this year. I don't know what he'd be due after the deadline, but this is the final year of that deal. So
there you go.
That's a guy that I could see getting moved way more now than 2 minutes ago when I even started this conversation.
It's a nice
Interesting
move.
on Goldschmidt.
You know what?
Someone's going to move for him because the Cardinals can't just let him leave and as a UFA.
No, it's an easy trade for the Cardinals, especially if he's playing, as he's playing better. But the one thing I'd also say is you have a team in the American League that's going to be looking for a first baseman as long as they're still competing for a playoff spot, and that's the Houston Astros. Are they going to make a move for Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? Are they going to make a move for Pete Alonso? They have a desperate need for a first baseman right now. So you're also possibly going to be competing with them upgrading their lineup even more so than it's already, it's a great lineup. They have one of the top 3 MVP candidates in the American League as well, and Kyle Tucker. They're going to be looking to upgrade first base too.
As great as Baltimore is, as of now, barring Yankees' health, the Yankees are the top dog in the AL. There's no doubt
100%.
about that. But Houston feels as if they're the biggest threat. Third in the American League West, 6 games under 500, not in a playoff spot. Feels as if they're the biggest threat in this entire league to the Yankees.
Yeah, I think you're right. The history between the two teams, the experience this team has, the fact that they haven't gotten much going this season. Yordan Alvarez is still having kind of an underwhelming year. Altuve slumping big time as they've started to win some games. His OPS is over 1,000 2 weeks ago. So, now I think it's in the 800s. You have guys, and when I'm talking about the injuries to their pitching staff, they've been decimated with injuries. Guys have come back. Guys have struggled as they've come back. They're going to make moves. They're going to be aggressive. They know that the window is closing here with this team, and it's not going to surprise anybody in 2 weeks when they lead that division, and then it's not going to surprise anybody in September when they've won 90 games and they're about to clinch the AL West again.
We're at the point now where we're about a third of the way through the season, so I'm comfortable discussing the playoff race. I'm not comfortable saying the Yankees are the 1 seed, obviously. They're a game and a half up on Baltimore. But I'm comfortable discussing the race and how it could shape up. It's so important for these teams, the Yankees and the Orioles, to win that division because look what's on the horizon if you do or if you don't. You play the wild card round. Now, we've said before, these are the 2 best teams. These are the World Series contenders, and it's a shame they're not going to make it to the ALCS because they're in the same division. Yeah. But you're going to have to play a wild card round. You get home games in your wild card round. You play it at your park, but then you have to travel to the team that won the AL East for the ALDS without your ace going game 1, game 4, because you just had the wild card round that they had to pitch in. Mm-hmm. And then if you're lucky enough to win that, you probably have to go to Houston because you didn't win your division. So that's a nasty gauntlet that the second place AL East team is going to have to go through. And that's why if it runs through the Bronx or if it runs through Camden Yards, the team that gets the 1 seed has to feel great about their chances because they're going to get a battered AL East second place team from that wild card round. Don't have their ace going, don't have their second in the rotation going. So the Yankees would be shaping up with Garrett Cole versus, I don't even know who would be the 3 or the 4 in Baltimore's staff right now. I just want to make sure I'm not getting the 2 wrong. But obviously it wouldn't be Burns versus Cole in that first round, which is the key. And then can you see Seattle or like, is it crazy for me to say that I don't see Seattle or Texas winning this division at all? Like, I don't even give them a chance. Texas, I don't at all. I don't think Texas can. Texas having a dud after they won the title last year.
No, I think Seattle is the stronger team out of the 2 you're talking. I just don't think Seattle has enough to say they're going to take this division and run with it. They haven't yet. Had every opportunity to do so. Texas had the same opportunity earlier in the month before they really started to struggle. You had an opportunity to give yourself a 10, 12 game lead over this team, and they haven't. And now they've crawled their way right back into this race. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind they're going to win this division. And how could you pick against them? How could you pick against them to not win this division? If you told me that, the Mariners got off to this fantastic start and, they had Cleveland's record, 36-18. right? I can't believe Cleveland's 36-18, by the way.
I know.
But if you told me they're 36-18 and they're 12 games up on Houston, whatever it is, okay, fine. I would tell you Seattle's going to win that division, but they're not. And they had every opportunity to do so. And now we're sitting here with them in striking distance. They've kept themselves in striking distance for a couple of weeks now. And there's no reason in my mind to say that Houston's not going to win the AL West.
Yeah, it feels like Houston's going to take that. They're going to get the 3 seed in the AL. The way that things are trending now, health obviously plays a huge role. The way Houston's been this year. I can't believe the Guardians are 36-18.
That's crazy.
They're a better team than Baltimore. But like, do we even? Where do you rank them out of the teams in the American League? Yankees are 1, Baltimore's 2, and then how many teams do you put before you get to Cleveland? I don't even think Cleveland's better than Kansas City.
Kansas City's pretty good. I like Kansas City.
Kansas City's exciting.
Just because of the 1-2 punch they have, I'd probably take Kansas City over them.
That's what I'm thinking. And the lineup's not worse.
No. I would probably take Houston over both of those teams, though. 24-30, I'd still take Houston.
I'd take Houston. I'd take Seattle over both of those teams also.
I would take Seattle over Cleveland. I don't know if I would take Seattle over would I take them? Yeah, no, I would take Seattle over both of them.
How about your boys up in Boston?
The Sox?
Back to 500, 27-27 now.
I mean, they're the most mid team. They're literally exactly what we kind of thought they were going to be, right? The most mid team on planet Earth.
You know what's an anomaly?
They're still pitching well.
They are. They can't win at Fenway. They're 4 games under at Fenway, and they're 4 games over on the road.
I can't believe we're sitting here talking.
I know, right? I thought they would
talking about
buried. But now it's Toronto. Toronto's that team that just
Toronto and the Mets are very similar. Do you see the parallels between these two teams?
I feel like I could. Talk to me.
They've been hyped up for a couple of years now. They have, similar, the first baseman, shortstop, star players, big production out of those two, and they've been mightily disappointing to start this season. And even last season, Toronto ended up making the playoffs. I can't really say they're disappointed, but they started off the season tough. They ended up making a little bit of a comeback. But even so, just look at this year, right? In the last couple of years, I kind of feel like they've been hyped up to this level that you think, oh, they can win the World Series. And the Mets have been more disappointing, but Toronto is disappointed in different ways.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the difference is, I guess, the hype for the Mets comes with Steve Cohen and the money and the external ads, and the hype for the Blue Jays was homegrown. Did this Blue Jays group get to an ALCS? They never did, right? I don't think they ever won a playoff series.
I don't know if they did or not. I can't tell you right now.
And that's not to count a wild card round. Yeah, so they never won a playoff series.
But they also have a rich owner too. They have a big time rich owner as well.
And he spent a lot on veteran pitching. He spent a lot on Gossman, on Ryu. Who else?
They extended Boroughs. They made the big trade for Boroughs and extended him.
Alek Manoah totally killed their whole thing too. That was supposed to be their ace, and all those other pitchers were supposed to be his supporting cast on days where he's not on the mound. So Manoah getting fat and pitching terrible totally ruined them.
Just think about them. Last year if Manoah was pitching well. Gossman had a really good season. Barrios finished the season strong. He's having a great year. He's having a really great year to start this year. Just think if he didn't fall off the face of the earth.
I know.
Like, that's a legitimate 1, 2, 3 right there.
It is. They got Chris Bassett the last few years, who just eats innings and does a nice job. Always consistent. Bassett, like one of those 4 ERA guys that are solid, though, that you can trust to have quality starts and eat innings. They didn't build a bad pitching staff there. Manoah, I have no idea what happened to him, because he wasn't a spider tack, sticky stuff casualty, because he was good for an extended period after that.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense, but they also haven't gotten – Kevin, they had Chapman for a little bit, and what did Chapman do? He was an player with them, nothing special. Springer has struggled big time the last couple of seasons. They spent big money on him. I don't want to say Vlad has struggled because like that year where he came in second in MVP, that's an anomaly, right? Like he's more of the player you saw in 2022, right? Like the 840 OPS guy, not as high of an on base and batting average. And like, I don't want to say he's struggled, but to that season, he has. They just haven't had that same production offensively as well. And it's costed them here a potential chance at even you want to say just an ALCS appearance.
I think the biggest turning point for Toronto, and it has to do with that Vlad MVP season, was letting Marcus Semien walk because Semien, in hindsight, was the best hitter on that team.
Yeah.
And he brought out the best in Vlad hitting in front of him every day.
Yeah.
So letting him walk, and also to an American League quote unquote rival, if you want to call it that, just because they're in the same league, they're actually rivals. But letting him walk to an American League team in the league and win a World Series doesn't look good for them either. Everything Semien's done after has reflected poorly on the Blue Jays letting him walk, and everything the Blue Jays have done after have reflected poorly on letting him walk. So he's the turning point for me because I thought that year he should have been second at MVP. Because just watching a lot of Toronto games that year as a Yankees guy, he was the best hitter on that team, and losing him killed them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that. And look at who they've replaced him with to be almost a protection for Vlad in that lineup, and that's Bichette, who's really good, but this season, I mean, just he's struggling mightily. He's a 663 OPS.
I'm glad you brought this up because a lot of people are saying trade Bichette, but I think out of the two, he's the one I wouldn't move. I'd move Vlad because he's very valuable, but Bichette's at his lowest value right now. This is a 300 average hitter hitting 240 right now. Why would you get rid of this guy at this point? I'd rather take the risk because it's possible Bichette is this bad for the rest of his career. Like he never gets better again, never becomes the great shortstop he was again, or the very good shortstop he was again, and that's it. But I'd rather take the risk and gamble on the fact that Bichette is going to become the 300 hitter again that he has been every year of his career except for this one. I mean, how long has he been in the league here? 6 years? 6 seasons. This is his 6th season. His first year, he only played 46 games. Second year, he played 29. So this is his 4th full season, but he's hit 300 every year except for one. He hit 290. And now he's hitting 247. I would take the gamble with Bichette that he is a way better player than he's playing right now and not trade him at this low value. This is his floor.
Yeah, I mean, unless somebody blows you away, right, and offers you the trade and you're like, oh, we have to take this, fine. I would trade Vlad in a second. If Vlad's a free agent after this year, he definitely hasn't extended with them. I don't know if it's next year, the year after, or if it's this offseason, but I would absolutely move Vlad this season. Like I mentioned before, there's going to be a few teams in big need of first baseman. I think he's a perfect fit. Adding Vlad to Houston, man, it would cost a lot. If they can add Vlad, that'd be a big time get. But they got to start the rebuild here, right? The veteran guys, they have to start the rebuild here in Toronto.
So Vlad could become a free agent this year if they don't meet his arbitration terms. But that he's going to not be a free agent because of that, because everyone gets arbitration. So he's a UFA in 26, but that even gives him more value because a team now has his rights for an extra full season. So you're not just getting him for this playoff run, because how many times do we see a guy who's really talented go to a place that's trying to win a title and stink for the first half season and then hit free agency and never get settled in? Now you can give him that extra year of get settled in, and we're still going to be competing. Kind of what the Padres did with Soto, right? I mean, totally different player, way worse player, but.
And he feels like the guy too, Kevin, that would go to a spot that, a contender like Houston and go on an absolute tear to finish this season. And then even next year, have a really good year into his free agency. And then you let him walk and sign somewhere else. I think that's a perfect move for a team like Houston. A contender would absolutely almost reinvigorate this guy's career. And I think you'd see similar numbers in the last year and a half here as you did to 2021.
I think that's the last guy the Yankees want to see at Minute Maid Park, too, on Houston, as far as the addition that they can make, because he kills the Yankees. He loves playing against the Yankees. He loves playing on the big stage at Yankee Stadium. The rest of his team has actually not done well against the Yankees. That's why the Yankees seem to have won this rivalry, because the pitching has been awful. The Yankees always hit Toronto, but they stink in Toronto, too. Whatever, I digress. But Vlad is the last guy you want to see inserted into the middle of that Astros lineup, right between Alvarez and Tucker and Altuve. That Bregman, that's a frightening reality in the ALCS, potential reality that could happen. Let's move to Mets here. Could not have been worse during our time off. Could not have gone worse. No. I got a bunch of stuff I want to talk about besides just what we've seen in the last 2 weeks, but we'll start there. What have you seen in the last 2 weeks?
You know what I've seen, Kevin? They might, position player-wise, have 2 players moving forward in the next 3 to 5 years that you feel good about on this roster. Brandon Nimmo and Francisco Alvarez. Question mark around Vientos. Everybody else, I could give a rat's ass if you were here or not. That's what I've seen. Total depression. Total, pessimism in terms of not only this season, but the future of this franchise. That's what I've seen. Kevin, bullpen got off to a great start. Pitching staff was off to a good start. They're not scoring runs. Then they start scoring runs, and the bullpen starts taking a crap. And then they start scoring runs, and the rotation starts taking a crap. They just can't get everything at once to play well. It's the story of, being a Mets fan. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And, the core that they have, right, that, I'll put it in parentheses, core, core, Nimmo, McNeil, Lindor, Alonso, losers. 4 fat losers. That's what they are. That's all they're going to be for the rest of their lives, are losers. They had 1 good season, 1, and they couldn't even finish that season. They are just straight up losers. And they have just been riding the high of the 2022 season and winning 100 games and being considered one of the greatest Mets teams ever. But in reality, they are just all losers.
It's amazing in 8 weeks how both of us, we haven't even spoke about this, but I'm sure how both of us have completely flipped on the Alonso free agency situation. There's no way that this guy has a future with this team. No way.
No, I don't want him back. I don't want
Alonso
back.
Alonso, who went from the first few years breaking the Judge rookie home run record and being, let's be honest, Alonso class act, and has always been a stand-up New Yorker, good, hardworking theme to him throughout his career. But he's always going to be associated with losing. And I don't know if Alonso actually has the extra gear that he can kick the clubhouse into and be that extra, competitor, that ultimate competitor type of guy. Lindor absolutely is not. That this trade for Lindor is now starting to feel like a failure. And I've never gone there. I have not gone there because Cleveland didn't actually do better in the trade than the Mets, but they did as well in a trade of your best player as teams do. Lindor produces more than the players that they got. Rosario's not even there anymore. So,
right.
But Jimenez is a very nice player. I can't get behind Lindor anymore as the centerpiece or the second piece or the third piece. He is the 4th or 5th piece on a potential championship contender, not a top 3 piece.
No, and you want to say the trade is, a failure, that's fine. I don't know if I can agree with the fact that they've lost the trade. I don't think they lost the trade just because I think Jimenez, he could turn into a really good player. I don't think he's there yet. He had a down 2023. He's not great this year. But again, he's 25 and can really turn into a good player, so you don't know. And the rest of the guys in that trade are absolutely nothing, and including the other guy the Mets got in Carrasco. So, I mean, you're really comparing, all right, what's Lindor and what's Jimenez doing at this point? And, there's more of a future for Jimenez. But the extension is the part that, just absolutely kills you, right? I mean, the extension is just, it's brutal. And Kevin, I tried to defend this guy, before the season started. I thought he's going to have a big year with not so much pressure on him and the team not having these crazy World Series expectations. I thought he was going to have a great year, an MVP caliber year, top 5 MVP caliber year. I couldn't be more wrong about what Francisco Lindor has been, and I can't stand listening to him. I just can't, even if it's unfair. Even if it's unfair of me to say, I don't care if he tells you he's trying, he's working. I don't want to listen to this guy. I just can't stand him. I really can't. I am now starting to see what other fans who I yelled at for years now have started to see.
That's where I have a problem with it. I don't actually have a problem with the player and the performance as much as other people. I think people have totally overblown the fact that he's underperformed on the field and at the plate. Sorry, he's not hitting 340. I mean, that's just not the way he plays. That's not. He's been the highest producing shortstop in the MLB over his time with the Mets. However, it's the fact that he seems to not want to be here.
Yeah.
And he seems so uninterested in being a New York Met and turning this thing around. I look at this is going to be a comparison that I don't think anyone has ever made in the entire world across two sports. Francisco Lindor and Julius Randle. I'm going to give you a comparison here. Julius Randle came to a big market team that was looking to turn around. He was the disappointment acquisition because it was supposed to be Durant and Kyrie Irving. But Julius Randle, who Knicks fans are on and off about, but Julius Randle came to the Knicks, and he wanted to be a Knick. He was a great ambassador to the fans, great face of the team, and he played his ass off and was part of the turnaround. He's not the main reason for the turnaround. Jalen Brunson is the main reason for the turnaround.
He's the start of the turnaround.
Exactly. And Lindor, if he played his cards right, even if he didn't feel it, you just have to say the right things and act the right way when we can see you. For 2 or 3 years, if he played his cards right, he could have been that guy, and he is not because he hasn't. The Javi Baez thing with the thumbs down was the first real egregious sign of Lindor not being the right personality or mindset for this turnaround. And every year, it seems to add to the narrative that he can't be that person.
Yeah, and he comes over and he's got, he's Mr. Smile. He's great with the media. He's great with the fans, in Cleveland, and everybody thought he's a perfect fit for New York, right? Just everybody thought he was going to be that guy, and turns out he's just not. I just don't think he's tough enough, right? Soto's the same way. Soto's great with the fans, great with the media, always has a smile on his face, right? But Soto's tough. Not only is Soto a generational player, but Soto's a tough guy. Soto will get in your face if he has to. The Soto shuffle, all these things, right? Lindor's not tough. Lindor is thin-skinned, hears everything. No matter what's going on, he hears everything. So I just don't think he's tough enough. We thought he was a perfect fit for New York. He's not. He is the exact opposite fit for New York.
No, he is charm and soft, Francisco Lindor. And I am done with Lindor as the face of the Mets because, I'll be honest, he is. Around the league, this is the face of the Mets. This is the guy that people think of. Or is it Steve Cohen? It might be. But Lindor, as a player, is the guy that people think of when you talk about the New York Mets.
But he should be, Kevin. I mean, he makes
$34
million a year.
But what I'm saying, I mean, this is someone that we have to now, this is a figure that we now have to replace and find somebody new to be the face of the Mets, which is not easy when your shortstop is making more money than God in New York, and you have to try and find somebody better than this guy. You actually have to try and find 3 or 4 players that can outperform this guy in totality as far as be a good performer on the field and be a great performer off the field with your fan base and with the league, because Lindor brings nothing to the table as a New York Met. He doesn't at all.
I'll tell you what, from the senses, you can gather information about, who the lead. You don't know for a fact, but you can gather information based on interviews and what people say and people around the clubhouse say about who's the leader of the team. And like, I don't think Alonso is at all a leader of this team. Like,
No.
I think I'd rank 2 or 3 guys ahead of Alonso before I even said Alonso's leader. And many people tell you Alonso's a leader. Alonso's not a leader of this team. I think Lindor has tried to be a leader, but I think the real leader of this team, Kevin, I'm not knocking the guy. It's Nimmo. Nimmo is the leader of this team. He's been here the longest. He's the leader of this team, and he struggled the last couple of weeks. I mentioned him as a guy that I would feel good about going forward on this team. He's here for another 6 years. I think he can play. I really do. I like Nimmo a lot. He's struggling, though, no doubt about it, the last couple of weeks. I do like Nimmo, though, and I think he's a piece here.
And you know what? Nimmo wants to be a Met. Nimmo wants to win here. He doesn't want the easy way out of going somewhere else. Nimmo is in a totally different situation. Julius Randle. He is a guy that wants to turn things around here. Will he be the sole reason for it, the main face when it happens if he's still on the team? No, he won't be, but he'll be a part of it. And Brandon Nimmo is the guy Francisco Lindor should take some notes from. This Wyoming kid who's probably antisocial and a little bit weird should be the guy that Francisco Lindor steps off his high horse and take a look at, because Nimmo does it right. And fans love Nimmo, and Nimmo's also a damn good player.
Yeah. So I think Alonso, and tell me if you disagree, because I don't know. It's not known. My sense is, and maybe I'm blinded, that Alonso wants to be here and wants to win here. Like, that's my sense. Like, when he says these things, I believe him. Now, do I believe he could be the leader and the reason why? The last couple of years would tell me no, I don't think he can be that guy. But is it possible that he doesn't want to win here? Is it possible that he does want to go elsewhere?
I could see that. I think this would be Alonso's mindset. And as you said, we don't actually know. So this is just us speculating it. And so what? Who cares? I think Alonso, if you asked him, if a genie came to him and said, you can win a World Series anywhere, I'm giving you one wish, I'll make it happen, he would say the Mets. But if a genie also came to him and said, you can go somewhere else and they're going to be winning, I can't guarantee the Mets will be, I think he'd easily walk out the door and go somewhere else to go win and contend. I don't think he'd lose sleep over it.
Yeah, again, he's been a great face, right? He really has. He gets overhated like crazy. People call him corny, whatever it is. I love Alonso. I think he's great. I think he's embraced New York, and he's a really good guy from what you see. But it's weird. It's just very weird that this guy doesn't have a C on his chest. It's really weird that when you hear about who the leaders on this team are from people that actually know, it's more Nimmo and it's more Lindor than it is Alonso. Just very weird. It's very weird.
So I've seen a lot of people saying now it started with this core is finished. Now I'm seeing people say there was never a core. I think this about the Mets core. Nimmo, McNeil, Alonso, there was a core there. Mm-hmm. And you needed to add a superstar. And the day they got Francisco Lindor, nobody knocked that. I still, you're right. You still can't say they lost the trade because the return they gave up, it worked for Cleveland because Jimenez is a piece there. Mm-hmm. But it's not actually... The Mets wouldn't have been better off necessarily not making the trade. Like that, it wouldn't have changed things. I think Lindor, in hindsight, was just the wrong star to add. And he might have messed up the mojo of this entire group. Because remember the thing with he and McNeil and the rat in the clubhouse, which obviously they were just having a fight and things escalated. Moments like that with Lindor and then the Javi Baez situation, they brought in Javi Baez and it felt as if they brought him in because he's Lindor's friend and they were able to get him and it would have been a cool, I thought Cohen really wanted to make a move at that deadline because it was his first big deadline and he was just saying, give the fans something here. And they brought in Baez, who was Lindor's friend, who's a total cancer to a clubhouse. And just everything that has gone with Lindor, I think he is the reason this failed.
You know what? You want to know something else, though, Kevin? Lindor and Cohen, today, They're very, very close. Out of
Yes.
everybody on this team, Lindor and Cohen are buddy. They love art. They love all these, they love whatever, fashion, whatever it is. They love these things. They get along very well. So possibly 100% you're right. Bringing in a guy like Javi Baez could have absolutely messed up, I guess, relationships in the clubhouse. And also just that 21 season was such a disaster. They blow a division lead. It wasn't really a lead, but, they were in contention and they weren't. Lindor was terrible to start. The, thumbs down, the fighting with McNeil, who had been here and was a fan favorite for a few years. People really like McNeil, and you got this guy who just got paid $300 million choking another player in the clubhouse that's been here. It's like, what the hell's going on? So the more you look at it, the more it's like, maybe fans were right to not like this guy, to dislike this guy.
And the Cohen thing's interesting too, because you're right, they are really tight. And
Very
that might be like his way of, like, that's his golden boy. I'm trying to think I want to say this, but that's his golden boy, because that group that I mentioned, McNeil, Nimmo, Alonso, those homegrown guys were here before Cohen.
Mm-hmm.
They're not his guys. Lindor is his big name that he brought in. So maybe he just grew so attached to that first big star, big name that he's responsible for, that he might have overlooked building relationships with the players that were here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It
really goes back to what we said. We don't know. We have no idea.
And by the way, with the player, and you talk about core, right? Did they really have a core? Like, Alonso is one of the best he's with the second best power hitter in the sport since he's been in the league, right? Only Judge is ahead of him. So that's a piece. McNeil has won a batting title before Lindor got here. He was off to a fantastic start in his career. He had just had a year where he hit a bunch of homers too, adding on top of the average he's hit for. So McNeil was a piece. Nimmo was starting to come into his own. Like, there was some sense of a core building here. Were they a great core? No, by no means were they a great core. Now, if Lindor came in and produced like he did with Cleveland, produced like he did in 2022 or 2023, then, we're, consistently, then we're talking about a completely different story. But he was the wrong star. He was the wrong guy. That's it.
And now he has to be a part of your plans, because you have until 2031. That's 7 more years that they have this guy. So he has to become a part of your plans, whether the Mets evaluate it the same way we just did, or if they love Lindor still and think all the other guys are the problem. They know better than us, but he has to be a part of your plans regardless, because no one's taking him in a trade. Lindor feels like one of those guys that when it's going great, he brings everyone up with him, and his vibes are so contagious that he can bring the whole team up with him when it's going great. But when it's not going great, and for the most part it hasn't, he can bring everyone down just the same way. And that is how I view Francisco Lindor, which is not a leader or a number one on a team. Because a number one on a team doesn't have to be a leader either, in my opinion.
Right.
No, it doesn't. Like, how many NHL teams do you see, good NHL teams, where, like the Rangers, Jacob Trouba's not their 1, he's not their 2, he's not their 3, he's not their 4, he's not their 5, he's their captain, he's their leader. So It could be the same way in every other sport. Lindor's not either. And that's a huge concern when you have him for the next 7 years.
Right. And his numbers were now I'll defend him for a second. Okay. And I hate this, but I'll defend him for a second. He's not as bad as his numbers say he are, right? Like, you look at the baseball savant pages and they will tell you he's not having a great year, but he's not as bad as he is. He's hit into some bad luck. He's hit the ball hard at times. So, and you could see it. If you're watching him, you have been able to see a lot of balls that, whether they should be hits or not, whether the stadium kept them in. Again, I'm not a big luck guy, but if we're looking at this as, well, he's here for the next 7 or 8 years, if we're looking at it from a glass half full, he's not as bad as he's been. So we'll give him that. But either way, you don't feel good about the fact that you've paid him $34 million a year now, and that's going to be the case for the next, 7 or 8 years, however long's left.
Yeah, I feel horrible about it. I really do. We'll move on from Mets. We'll segue into...
Betts was supposed to be the guy. If Cohen was able to buy the team at
Betts
the first
would have
chance
been,
he got,
yes.
Betts was the guy. And
Betts would have been the guy. It's a good point. Betts was the guy. That is a good point, because he would have got him.
Yes, that was the target.
All right, so we have here Gabe. We're staying in the NL East for our Zoto rant of the week. Let's see what Gabe's got to say.
MLB.com released their power rankings yesterday, and I just don't understand why the Phillies are number one. I understand they've won the games they've had to do, they've beaten the people on their schedule, but gosh, you cannot have them be the number one team in baseball when they barely play teams over 500. And then you lose a series to the Rockies. Fine, it's at their home. They always play better at home. But it's still the Rockies. They're not that great of a team. I mean, they play the White Sox every damn day. And you're going to have this team be the number one team in baseball right now? I just can't have that if they don't play teams over 500.
See, I like it for the take. I do. And it's something that is getting talked about now more and more. You were one of the first people that really brought it to my attention, though, was the ease of the Phillies schedule. I'm pulling up the MLB power rankings right now. Just I'm curious to see. Phillies 1, Yankees 2, Guardians 3, Orioles 4, Dodgers 5. But here's my thing with the Phillies. They don't make their schedule. So they just are responsible for playing and beating the teams that are on it, and they do. And this is a team that it's not like their success came out of nowhere this year. No, this has been a National League top 2 team for 3 years in a row now.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna be picky. I agree with Gabe. Like, the Yankees are the best team in baseball. I'm not gonna disagree with that. The Yankees, for the first 2 months of this season, in my opinion, undoubtedly the best team in baseball, most dominant team in baseball. I'll say this about the Phils: they're the best team in the National League. They're gonna run away with this division, especially with the injuries now the Braves have had. But I don't even think that's fair to say. I think there's a chance that the Phillies, regardless of their injuries the Braves have had, that the Phillies were going to win this division because they really do look that great. So, and they've also, I saw a stat about them that they face some really good pitching too. So they face some bad teams, but bad pitching as well. So the only thing I think when they start to play the tougher teams that will regress is maybe their team ERA a little bit. But even so, they got 3 guys, Kevin, that are Cy Young contenders. I mean, 2 really in Wheeler, and Wheeler's one of the best pitchers in baseball, if not the best. And Suarez has been one of the best pitchers in baseball. So, and Nola's great too. No, you talk about Nola as your 3 right now? Are you kidding me? So
yeah, they're loaded.
They're legit. They're loaded. The Yankees are the best. So I'll agree with Gabe, but I was on that train of, they haven't played anybody. Yes, they haven't. And I want to see them play the better teams in this league. But I think either way, they're still one of the 3 best teams in the league.
That's a team we haven't even spoken about in that scenario of Yankees, Orioles. And I don't think the Braves are as good as either of the 2 teams. So that's probably why we haven't touched it. Now Acuna's out for the season, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the Phillies and Braves are also going to have to split that division up, and one of those teams are going to be a road team in the wild card, despite being better than every team in the NL Central.
Well, now it's going to be flipped because for the last couple of years, it was the Braves being upset by the Phillies in the playoffs, the Phillies going on the road and doing damage there as the underdog. Now it's going to be flipped because, again, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Philadelphia is going to win this division with the way the Braves have looked, and guys haven't gotten going yet. And it might just, we see teams, Kevin, like these elite teams, these teams that go on great runs for 10 years, however long it is. There's a down year, right? There's at least a down year, whether it's injury or whether it's just fatigue. In any sport with any level of dominance for a long period of time, there are just down years, and this is going to be Atlanta's down year. They have 2 crucial injuries. Olsen's gotten off to an ass start. Riley's been banged up. He just came back after not playing for 2 weeks. And by the way, they didn't put him on the IL. What the hell are we doing there? But it's just it's a tough year for the Braves. It's going to result in a playoff berth, but it's not their season.
And with the expanded playoffs, how much does a playoff berth mean right now? I mean, there's bad teams get in every year. In the case of last year, though, bad team made the World Series. So, I mean,
listen, by the way, if Chris Sale's pitching the way he's pitching and Fried gets it going in a free agent contract, we've seen them win the World Series without Acuna.
I was going to say, last time they lost Acuna, they won the World Series. So
it's really just about getting in. Maybe it's not a down year. Maybe I remember when down year for them.
I remember that year they lost Acuna and they won 89 games or 87 games. I think it was 89. And everyone was like, all right, Braves, that's going to be a good young team. Then they just ran the gauntlet
Yeah.
and won the title. With
Beat
Ozuna was great. Soler was great. Jock Peterson was excellent.
Eddie Rosario.
Eddie Rosario was fantastic. Was Ozuna even on that team?
I think he was.
I think he was.
I don't know if he was great.
But I think he was hurt.
He might have been hurt.
Because it was like their whole starting outfield was hurt. And they had
Right.
Soler, Peterson, Rosario as the fill-ins.
And you know what's funny? In 22, when the Mets did nothing at the deadline, I compared it to what the Braves did in 21, and I said, well, look what they did. They just added a couple of nice pieces, added depth, and look what happened. Nobody thought when they added Soler, Peterson, and whoever else, they were going to do anything, and they won the World Series.
I want to actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I want to talk about the 22 Mets deadline quick.
What?
I never knew who they traded for Vogelback.
I knew this was coming.
Colin Holderman's the best reliever in baseball.
By the way, not to be all nerdy, but Met fans were pissed at the time because Holderman was really good.
Well, I'm looking
early
back at
in the
Holderman.
year.
I'm looking back at his season. He was putting together a nice rookie year in 2022 with the Mets, and they dealt him. He ended up at a 2.04 ERA, 1.02 WHIP, and he was struggling towards the deadline. But he's great now. He had a bad first year with the Pirates, solid 2023, 3.80 ERA, good back end of the bullpen guy. But now he's dominating through the first 2 months of the season. Dominant. 17 games played, 0.5 ERA, 0.9 WHIP. Dominating.
They did it early too. It wasn't even like one of those trades where it was like late, like, oh, fine, we have to do this. Like, it was early.
No, because that was like a week before the Subway Series, and they traded for Vogelback, and the Subway Series was like a week before the deadline.
Yeah,
that year.
No, it was early. It was like mid-July, early July. It was
July. 2 or 3 weeks before the deadline, that move, because I remember the Subway Series at Citi Field after Vogelback had a fun, I don't know if they were good, but they were fun because he had like a triple, and they got off to a funny start with him, and they were winning, and it went into the Subway Series, and he was a big draw that weekend. But it was a week or two before the deadline.
No, Vogelback was like, listen, he was terrible. I mean, he's not a baseball player. He can't do many things on a baseball field. He wasn't bad with the Mets in 2022. I mean, just like, you can't say he was. He had a good run with the Mets in 22, especially early. So, yeah, Colin Holderman.
All right, so we got Colin Holderman, best relief pitcher in baseball, Vogelback. What team is he on? Seattle, Toronto now?
He's terrible.
Is he on their minor league? Is he on their AAA team?
No, he's on their major league roster.
Jesus.
He's got a 564 OPS.
The fact that I don't know that tells you how his career and how Toronto have both trended.
Yeah. By the way, we didn't talk about something with the Yankees, just not to just completely circle back. I know we've talked about him, but like, it doesn't feel real with Luis Gil. That's good. That's good. That's a good rhyme. Doesn't feel real with Luis Gil. It doesn't. It really doesn't.
It might not be. I got a lot of hate actually on. I posted a Gil video, a quick reel.
Yeah, I love that
trade. Gil for Jake Cave was the trade. That's another disaster. Twins trade, but that was the trade. And it on Instagram, it didn't really do much. On TikTok, it got, I think, over 10,000 views, and it got like 100 comments plus, and Yankees fans are all upset with me. They're like, why are you saying this so early? It's May. You're going to jinx it. Yeah. And he's been lights out. He's been dominant.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he's a rookie. I feel like he's been pitching for the Yankees for like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I want to look at that. When did he make his first appearance?
Yeah, I feel like we've heard his name for a little bit, but it's just, he's fantastic. And the rotation, like, somebody called me, one of my friends called me the other day, he's like, you think it's sustainable? I'm like, yeah. I think Gil's legit. I think Clark Schmidt can pitch. And Rodon and Nestor have been good, solid, nothing, crazy. And
so Gil started 2 games in 2021, and he pitched 29 total innings, 29 1/3 innings in 2021. 2022, he pitched 4 innings, got hurt, missed the entire 2023 season with the injury. So now he's back in 24 as a 26-year-old. First pitch for the Yankees was 23. He's a rookie in his 4th year in the league and dominating. Found his stuff. I totally think that's something that is sustainable because you have a guy who hasn't gotten a great deal as far as getting on the field. And for the Yankees to not release or trade a pitcher that's young is actually very rare. They normally get rid of these guys at their peak value. Guys like Ken Waldachuk, J.P. Sears, Davey Garcia. Who else? I'm trying to think of who they trade for James Paxton. He stunk in Seattle. He was their top prospect. He was the Yankees' top prospect.
I know you're talking. I know Lefty. I know you're talking about.
Yeah. Damn. Was it Justice Sheffield? Was that his name?
Yes, it's Sheffield.
Sheffield. Yeah, and he was horrible. So normally they get rid of these guys, and I always say to my same group of friends, Cashman at the deadline when he does this, Cashman traded this top pitcher. They know he's not good.
Mm-hmm.
They know he doesn't have what it takes because Cashman, they don't develop pitchers, but they also don't trade pitchers that are great elsewhere. It doesn't happen. So the fact that they kept Heel and held on to him, and now finally he's got a chance to get consistent starts, healthy, and he's pitching great, it doesn't surprise me. It surprises me, but it doesn't worry me that it's just a flash in the pan.
Right. And again, sustainable. I think a lot of these guys are sustainable. And, the elephant in the room obviously is that Cole's coming back. So, you're about to add the best pitcher in the world to this staff, and hopefully he stays healthy and he's the same guy. But there's insurance here. There's insurance.
And there's a twofold to Cole coming back, too, because the Yankees are really struggling at one spot overall pitching. It's left-handed reliever. There are 2 left-handed relievers, Peralta, or is it Santana? Or I think it's Santana. Ferguson mainly. Ferguson, they both suck. And they blew the game on Sunday against San Diego. They came in, they couldn't do anything. But the Yankees can now move Cortez to the pen to be their left-handed reliever.
Yeah.
So you now get a 6 to 9 out reliever, left-handed reliever, and the best pitcher in baseball added to the team with the best team ERA. So that's huge for the Yankees. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Mike. The way the Yankees have operated, this is the pessimist in me. The way the Yankees have operated over the last few years with young talent, I could see Heel or Schmidt getting bumped out of the starting rotation.
No.
I could see it.
It's different. This is different Yankee baseball. This team.
I haven't even wanted to say that take out loud. Like this is the first time I've really said out loud because it's so dumb. You use your brain. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
To say. It doesn't make any sense.
No, I've seen it. I've seen it. Believe me. It happened with Showalter and Epler. These dumb moves happen. It's different this year. This is a World Series team. They know what they got. They know Schmidt's pitching well. They know Heel's one of the best pitchers in the American League. It's not going to happen. Don't think about it. Don't think about that. Come on.
All right. So we're going to move on here because I can't think about it.
Don't think about it.
We're going to move on here because I can't think about it. We're in the home stretch of the show here. We're going to go.
They need another bullpen arm though. Get a.
They do, but does Nestor become that guy?
No, because I still want to have Nestor as insurance just in case somebody goes down.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Get a guy or two. Get a guy or two for that pen.
Boone said he won't do a 6-man rotation. He did say that in passing like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't agree with that. I'd do a 6-man rotation because you need to have your top 4 healthy in the postseason. You absolutely need it. So don't stretch these guys out. And Heel has an innings limit because he's coming off the injury. So you don't want to just blow by this guy's innings limit, which they're pacing to do. I don't know the exact number, but they're pacing to do it. And you want him in the postseason if he's this good. If he's this good, he pitches the second day of the postseason.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. You have Schmidt as well. He's only pitched last year, pitched 159 innings. That's obviously the most. Other than that, he had 57 and 60 innings and then 12 combined in 2 years. So you also worry about his arm as well. I think a 6-man, it makes a ton of sense, especially because you have 6 guys, 5 other guys pitching really well. Then to add the fact that you have Cole coming off an elbow injury, like don't push these guys 100%. Keep them fresh, keep them going. Rodon's been hurt too.
Yeah, I mean, and Strowman's a guy that struggles in the second half of
Yeah.
seasons. This is a rotation that you have to be very careful with the amount that they pitch before the playoffs. I think not going to a 6-man is really dumb in this spot. I do. Boone said he's not going to.
Spot.
But I mean, it is what it is. We'll see what happens when he gets back. That's going to be an interesting day when Cole comes back, and we see what happens with the rest of the club. We're going to move on to blind comparison. We haven't done one of these in a few weeks. I've got one today for you, Mike. Probably our easiest one, but I wanted to spark conversation.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. I give you Gunnar Henderson, and you got to give me player B.
Shortstop. It's not Francisco Lindor.
Quick, cross off the list.
Oh, I know what this is. It's Bobby Witt.
It's Bobby Witt. Yeah, it's one of the easier ones that we will do on the show. But the reason I want to do that is because a few weeks ago when we were doing Batter's Box, I said there's not a player you can one-for-one trade, and the Orioles would say yes about Gunnar Henderson. But maybe Bobby Witt's that guy. Bobby Witt maybe. So I'm curious. This is why I want that conversation, because I don't actually have a side on this, because I love both players. Henderson versus Bobby Witt. Who'd you rather have?
I would take Gunnar. Now defensively, I can't tell you how both of them are. Like I can't tell you who's better defensively at the moment in terms of which is a very important position. But I think just the power numbers and the power opportunity with Gunnar Henderson. I mean, this is a guy that should hit 40, 45 homers. I mean, that's not going to be crazy when he's doing that consistently, as long as he's healthy. Like, this is a guy that's going to have a 950 OPS, 930 OPS, whatever it is, 40 home runs from the shortstop position. Bobby Witt's a great player. I'm sure him and Henderson are going to have MVP races, and I think Witt will get at least one, but Henderson's going to win a couple of these. Like, this is a guy, just overall offensive production numbers, I think it's going to be better from Henderson. But like, man, like you add the stolen base factor with Bobby Witt. These are some really good. It's just unbelievable, the talent at the position in the American League right now.
Yeah, Witt versus Gunnar. That's the
and will Volpe, we have
Anthony Volpe not far behind?
I'm going to add, when are we having the conversation about Volpe as well? When will Volpe be added to that?
18-game hit streak right now, trying to go for 19 tonight in Los Angeles against the Angels. But this is a premium position right now in the American League. There's young players all over. They got rid of Lindor, and the position was totally revived in the American League. We gave him to the National League, and he's tainted the position over there. And the American League now thriving at shortstop, young shortstops all around in the AL. I like all three of these guys.
Yeah, so with Volpe, though, like Volpe's having a very nice bounce back second year, and he's probably better defensive. Is he better defensively than both of these guys?
This is my issue with Volpe is he won the Gold Glove, but I think he's one of the worst defensive shortstops I've ever seen.
Okay, so
I don't, and like he's athletic enough to make the plays, but there's some throws that I think he gets bailed out on. There's some I don't think he's great at turning double plays. I don't know how he won the Gold Glove last year. It had to have been a horrible field. I know Bobby Witt was second. Now that I think back to it, Witt was second, and everyone thought he was going to win, so Volpe winning was a stunner. So maybe Witt's the best defensive shortstop out of this group. But you're right. It's tough to quantify defense because I don't know what exactly defensive runs saved is. I still cannot. I've read about it a million times. I still cannot wrap my head around the fact that people use that to determine who's a better defender. I don't know how that works, but whatever. I mean, all three of them, I think, are probably comparable in the field.
Yeah, it's the one thing I'll say. Like, Gunnar's 23, Volpe is 23, and Bobby Witt just had his best season. He finished 7th in MVP. Like, when Cashman doesn't trade Anthony Volpe for certain players, right, that we had seen become available, or not sign certain guys because he knows he has Anthony Volpe. You expect Anthony Volpe to have production numbers, and I think he's more comparable to a Bobby Witt than he is Gunnar. I think Gunner's just like a different body type and almost some kind of different player. But like, you expect Volpe to get to this level. Now, he hasn't gotten there yet. Will he get there? I think he will. I think he can get to the Bobby Witt level of player, and I'm excited to see when he does get there.
It's possible that these three guys are, you look back in 20 years, and it's like a documentary about the AL shortstops type of group, because they're all on the same timeline. They're all 23. They're all going to be with these clubs for the next 15 years. Bobby Witt already had the massive extension to avoid all the arbitration and all the potential UFA. The Royals avoided big spending with that contract, but I think the Orioles ownership is absolutely going to step up, and the Yankees ownership will step up if Volpe becomes that player. There's no doubt about that. So good blind comparison today. Nice, easy one to ease us back in to blind comparisons. And now we'll go around the league. Angel Hernandez done. Do you even have anything that you want to talk about on that crappy umpire?
He's bad umpire, and like the hate that he got. Like, listen, he is a human being, right? He's a human being. So
yeah, exactly. Whatever.
He's retiring with a good salary. He could give the middle finger to everybody. I'm sure he's got a nice pension, and he'll live a great life. He'll go to baseball games for free for the rest of his life. Enough's enough.
Exactly. That's that. Jose Ramirez, better than Barry Bonds.
Love Jose Ramirez, by the way. Great
I'm a
player.
big J-Rom fan.
Underrated player. But
better than Barry Bonds now. Because you got, who were they playing? Was this against the Angels here this weekend, right? Bags Juice, they walked him. And it wasn't an intentional walk, but it was totally pitch around him.
As close to an intentional walk as you'll get. Yeah,
and so he said after the game, they said, how'd you feel about getting the Barry Bonds treatment? He said, I'm better than Barry Bonds. So that's that. And don't think I agree.
Listen, he got off to he started off the year tough, was not good. It was like, what's going on with this guy? He's one of the best, producers at an incredibly high level and whatnot. And it was weird that he got off to the start he was. And the last couple of weeks, he has some Barry Bonds numbers. I mean, he does. I mean, that's not a lie. So if he said the last 2 weeks or the last week, I'm as good as Barry Bonds, I can't argue with him. I can't. But, nice try, J-Rod. Nice try.
And he didn't even, there was no additional context.
No. He was serious.
It was just, I'm better than Barry Bonds. That was it.
Good for him for the confidence, at least. Let him have the confidence.
I wish I felt that way.
I do too. We're better than Francesa. That's what we're saying here. We're better than Dog and Francesa.
We might have a better podcast than Francesa.
That tough shot there. They added video now. Come on.
Oh, my bad. My bad. All right. And Acuna's out for the season. How badly does this? He wasn't having a great year. At some point, he was going to have a run, though. That was inevitable. And now out for the year. I don't know if he'd be out for any of next year with the torn ACL. I'd assume not, because that's usually like a 6-month injury, 6 to 8 months for a baseball player. So this stinks to see, because now Acuna is entering a territory of he has some serious injury concerns, Achilles injury and an ACL injury in the span of about 4 years, 3-4 years. So one of the best players of the generation, top 5 player in the league, is now falling victim to some serious injuries.
Take a walk with me for a second.
Yeah, let's take a walk, Mike.
All right. So bursts onto the scene, right? No doubt. First 2 years, great. 2020 happens, great. 2021, he's going to win the MVP, and then he blows out his knee in Miami, right?
Yeah.
Comes back in 22, and maybe it was rushed. He did it in June or July, right? That injury. This is a little earlier. I'll have a little bit more rehab time. But 2022 was not a good season for him. And, of course, he won the division. But he had a 764 OPS. Played 120 games, only hit 15 home runs. Wasn't good. Then he comes back and wins the MVP. This season, not great at all. I mean, he's the worst year of his career to start. What's going on? Because again, you're not wrong to say he's one of the better players of this generation. He has an MVP. He has a Rookie of the Year. He probably would have won one in 2021 as well. But like, what's going on? Like, how he's going to be viewed in a very interesting way, especially if he comes back in 25 and it's a slow year getting back into it off the knee injury again. It's a little worrisome. It's definitely a little worrisome.
It is. And I don't know, also with that year last year, that career year, always going to be looked back on as incredible. But with average production numbers for an MVP, 41 home runs, 106 RBIs, it's possible that 70 steals becomes a norm and players start hitting 40 home runs and stealing 60-plus bags, 70-plus bags. So Acuna's career is going to be a fascinating one to look back at least this 6-year stretch. He's got a while to go. What's his contract with the Braves?
Was it the 7-year, $100 million?
He got one of those. Let me
look
see.
now. Oh, you're looking.
I'm looking. It's already locked in. Looking. Acuna with the Braves. Is it possible this guy's not on the Braves at some point in his career? You know, I could see this being so he's got 4 years left on that deal, but the last 2 years are club options, so they'll keep him at $17 million a year.
No, I think he'll be he's a Brave for life.
Because he turns 31 and he's a free agent. I don't think the Braves would re-sign him there. Not much of a point in talking about
what year is it?
2029.
What year is it? Yeah, if he has an MVP season, they might say, here's the extension now. Let's get this through. Scrap the last few years. They'll say, let's get the 7-8 year contract started now so that it's really not that bad in the back end.
No, he's got an interesting career here, man. He really does. Because 22, you're right, 22 is a total wash. That is not
terrible
a good
year.
22 is a bad year for Ronald Acuna. And 24, bad year for 49 games, and now out for season.
And was there an injury? Like, there really wasn't an injury, right? That you can make these. Like, what was happening?
716 OPS through 49 games. That's
what was happening
normal.
This season.
I don't know.
That's what I want to know.
Man. That's a weird one. Rookie of the Year. He's got 2 top 5 MVP finishes, including an MVP. 4-time All-Star.
I mean, it makes you think almost for this season. It makes you think, yeah, he's a feared hitter in that lineup. Don't get me wrong. You don't want to pitch to him, but how much worse are they in terms of how they've been this season with Acuna playing?
They don't get worse. The only reason they get worse is because we all would say there's a run in Acuna. This guy is one of the best 5 players in the league. There's going to be a stretch in June, July, or August where he is dominating, stealing bags, hitting home runs, extra base hits all over the place, and his OPS will get up above 900, up above 950, and now he's hurt, so you're not going to get that run from any replacement player.
But
and
we
with
hadn't
the Riley
seen that
situation.
We haven't seen that run, and we didn't see that run in 2022 after the injury. So, is it guaranteed we would have gotten that run?
Well, we got it last year.
You got it last year, but he had that consistently throughout the entire year. I mean, he was just the best player in baseball the entire season.
You're right. No, because it was last year's MVP race was Acuna the whole time, and then Betts had the run. He had the run in August and September where he was just dominating. Yeah, it's a good point. I don't know if they would have gotten it. I don't know how much worse Atlanta gets. I was going to flash this today too, and we can just right now because Atlanta, it goes with the conversation. These are the ERA leaders in the league, which just, crazy list. Seth Lugo 1, Ranger Suarez 2. But then you go down, Chris Sale number 8. So Chris Sale's been a pleasant surprise. I think their pitching is what will end up being their strength. Sale 8-1 with a 2.1 ERA.
Yeah, there's one thing not surprising on that list, and it's Chris Sale.
We talked about it before the season about how great we thought Chris Sale was going to be. I said I think Chris Sale is going to be a top 3 Cy Young, and partially I was joking, but partially I wasn't because that's just what Atlanta does.
It's so
and
funny.
It just felt like after a couple of years of being injured, Sale's going to go down here and dominate. And then my real joke also was Kelnick MVP, which not coming to fruition.
No. But didn't they extend Sale too? Like before the year started, they gave him a
I feel
contract.
yeah, they gave him something. I don't know if it was just to.
He's the best FIP in baseball. I mean, he's one of the best
Yeah.
pitchers in baseball this
Yeah,
year.
they got him and gave him a
It-
2 for 38.
This is a joke. I mean, this is a legitimate joke that this guy is one of the 3 best pitchers in the National League right now.
He
It's a
really
joke.
is. Has this guy made? He has not made that much money in his career.
Sal,
This because he didn't get one with a big one with the Red Sox, did he?
what did he get?
Oh no, he got a massive one with the Red Sox. It's just not
Yeah, I thought
done
he
yet.
got. I thought he got paid.
Because I know he got one with the White Sox to avoid arbitration. It was like 5 for 40, and I didn't know if that carried into the Boston tenure. And then he got a little one with Boston. That's what I thought had happened. But he got a 5 for 145 with Boston.
Hall of Famer or no?
Would it be the
Weird
worst player
cat.
in it? Would it be the worst player in it? Remember when he cut up his jersey?
Weird cat. Yeah. I'll say this: if he goes on a run here with Atlanta for 2 or 3 seasons and he's legit, maybe he's Hall of Famer.
He might be. He really
might
might be. If they could have some playoff success, you don't even have to win a title. If they could have some playoff success, he's already got his ring, and he was a big part of that ring. He was the ace of the staff, closed out the World Series out of the pen, cut up his jersey in Chicago. Let me see his career stats. Strikeout machine. Does he have a Cy Young? He has to. He had to have won one with Boston in 18. Who won that? Kluber?
18 or 17. 17, he finished second. That was the better year.
Yeah, 18 he wasn't as good, but he was great in the playoffs.
Kluber was better, though. Kluber was better.
Kluber, 17. Porcello won in 16 for Boston, and Snell won it in 18. Kluber
Yeah, I think
better.
Snell was better. Snell was better than him that year, though.
Sale lost by... Kluber got 204 vote points, and Sale got 126.
Yeah, Kluber was much
Severino, third.
Hey, you're going to be seeing that number next to his name, too, in the National League this year.
Yeah, you're gonna, absolutely. What's his line look like right now?
Dude, people want to talk about Severino and I see Matt Blake and pitching staff, pitching coach. How about Jeremy Hefner and Luis Severino?
How about Jeremy Hefner and Luis Severino? He's got ESPN sucks. They only show me the home stats. What a waste of my time. How are we feeling about the Dodgers?
A little losing streak. It's all right. They're about to come to New York. They're going to play 2 today, and then
they're going to turn things around.
They're going to turn things around.
City Field, that's the place you turn things around.
This is the win
Mets
streak.
stink at City Field, bro. Mets are terrible at City Field.
Terrible
They're a
City
pathetic home team.
Terrible.
Third highest ticket price in baseball.
Terrible at City Field. They don't hit there. Glasnow's on the mound for the first game of the DH today. So, yeah, I mean, the Dodgers get it going here, but teams are allowed to struggle, right? So
Mets third highest ticket price, 18th in average attendance. 26,000 average attendance.
He raised the season ticket prices from
that's pathetic.
23 to 24. He raised.
That's what all these guys do. But you know what? Like Jim Dolan can do it because the Knicks and Rangers fans are going to get them.
Mhm.
The football teams can do it because the fans are going to get them. As bad as they are, the football teams are going to get them for the 17 game season. They're going to get them. The baseball teams, if you have a bad baseball team, fans are not automatically going to renew for 81 games. Or, of course, there's the packages, but you need a group to do those. And you need a group amount of people to get those every 6 game package or every 9th game package.
I think the Yankees fall under the category of Rangers and Knicks, though.
They might.
I think the Mets are the only. Like, if you have a bad season and you've raised the prices of everything in the stadium, park at the stadium, you can't raise your ticket prices if you have a disastrous year.
Food's
and
expensive.
And you're not spending money in the off season of the year. You're raising them, which is fine. Whatever. I know it's a smart move. Can't raise those prices.
But the Yankees, though, I still don't think they fall into that category. The problem for us is we haven't seen them be bad in our entire life. They haven't had a losing season since 10 years before I was born. So, but at that time, that end of Mattingly era, that stadium was empty. If you go look back at it, that place was dead.
It is a I guess just time what's the word I'm looking for? It's, I guess, just what we've seen with our own eyes.
Also, I want to go back to this conversation. This is one I wanted to go back to. A lot of people told me after last season, at the end of last season, I heard so many. I don't know if you said this. I know a lot of our friends said this. The Yankees are just in a spot where they have their future. They're screwed. They're toast in the future.
Yeah.
Mets are not, because the Mets had that deadline, and the Yankees don't have a better farm system or a top 10 farm system, top 15 even. But I try to tell everyone, as long as you have an owner who spends, you're not screwed for the future. It's not possible in baseball. It really is.
Yeah, I was under the assumption that I was one of those people. I didn't like the future the Yankees had. I thought it was a bleak future. But listen, guys in the farm system have stepped up. Like Spencer Jones is a big time player. Dominguez ended up coming up last year and really showing that he's going to be a big time player as well for this team moving forward. And obviously the fact that you're going to have Soto probably for 12 years is,
but
it also
Cashman's other moves have worked out great too. Verdugo's been a great trade. There's a 250. We talked about Rizzo being a bad 250 hitter. Verdugo's been a very good 250 hitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's been highly productive out of the 4 spot for the Yankees, and he's done a great job in left field for them. And Jose Trevino's played really well. But these big market teams, I still feel the same way about the Mets. I think the Mets could contend for a World Series next year. As much of a disaster as it is right now, I really do feel that way, because you just need, if you add 5 guys in free agency, one of them being a big name and the other 4 being Mark Cannas and Eduardo Escobars, but if they work out because you just added players, if you add the right guys and the right mindsets, things could turn on a dime for teams that spend $300 million, man.
See, I thought that before this season because I thought they'd have a nice mix of a young core, and they don't have that. So I think the future for the Mets is very bleak, because I don't know if these guys in the farm system are coming up and they're going to play. But I don't know if that's true, Kevin, because you can't spend and win through free agency. You have to develop players. You
do. Which the Mets are literally the worst in the league at. I think since 2007, they have the least major league players developed of any club in the MLB, which is a frightening. It's either since 2007 or 2011, a frightening statistic.
Yeah.
And it's not changing. It doesn't feel like it's changing, because these guys come up and they're still not good, but with the exception of Alvarez and Scott, our guy Scott.
By the way, I still want to pump the brakes on Alvarez. You can't tell me he's a good player. You can't.
Well, I'll tell you that he can play baseball, and he's a major league catcher.
Okay, you need him to be a star. They need
him to be a star. But in terms of just the simple conversation of developing major league talent, he is major league talent. He's a major league catcher.
But it's like he came up and was projected to be a star, like 30 home runs, behind the plate, big, like big time guy. And I'm not convinced he can do it. I'm not.
I'm not either.
He has to show me.
All right, I pulled some comments. We're gonna do this new segment to end every show where we just pull some comments. These ones not as bad as we've gotten in the past, but we're just gonna review the week that we got and see, are you guys being nice to us or mean to us in the comments. It's always only one way.
Hopefully one day it's nice comments.
It's never going to be nice comments, but we love the mean comments. We really do. We loathe in them, and we think most of them are hilarious. This is just some that I pulled quick yesterday. Thankfully, your opinion means nothing. It absolutely doesn't. LMAO, these stores have to stop selling mics to just anyone. Is there a block button so I don't have to see just anyone talking sports? There is actually a block button on Instagram. And
by the way, the comment of they have to stop selling mics is the best.
That's always a good one. And I like when people change the way they say it too. It's not just like anyone can buy a mic. That's always the staple. But then I like when people try to get creative. This is the worst take I've heard. We get a lot of those. That one was the most liked on Nick's post. I got a lot of hate on. So that's why I saved that. That's why I included that one.
Because it's a really creative comment.
Bro, what is this take from Benny Sala with the zesty selfie profile picture? And that's always a classic that we get too. Not everyone should talk sports. We definitely shouldn't, but we appreciate you commenting, giving us a little traction. I burned a ton of brain cells listening to this take. Terrible. I like the emoji, face palm emoji.
Good comment too. Creative.
And the all caps, terrible. That seems like a 50-year-old dropped that comment. And then never speak on sports again is a classic. And somebody take his rights away. I don't know what this means.
That's
his
a crazy
rights?
comment.
Our rights for what?
That's a crazy comment. Interesting.
Yeah, somebody take his rights away was my favorite of the week because just no idea what the goal was there.
Absolutely love it.
Anything else you want to talk about around the league? Good almost 90 minutes here in the Boroughs episode 6 return.
Yeah, it's been a while. It was good. Good to catch up and chat. I got nothing else.
I got nothing else either. So every Tuesday, 11 a.m., we will be live on YouTube. If you missed the episode, it'll be posted on Spotify. Afterwards, you can find both the links in our Instagram bio at BTO Media. Thanks for watching. This was episode 6 of the Boroughs. We'll be back next Tuesday. Hopefully the Mets give us a solid week. The Yankees certainly will continue to play well on their West Coast trip. Nobody worried about that. This will age terribly. And thanks for watching. Make sure to follow the playbook. That's Gabe, who brought us our rant every week, brings us our Zoda rant. Make sure to go check out Hardline Sports Talk, and hopefully some new stuff that we've been cooking up will come soon in the future. So thanks for watching. Thanks for following, and we'll see you next Tuesday.